Cycling is a connection with nature. It's a passion. I was heading home from work and I was on the Dalkeith Road and the car turned and I hit the side of it. I went over the top, landed, bounced a couple of times, and luckily for me it was outside the hospital because the first person on site was an intensive care nurse. And I remember actually, as I looked up, the intensive care nurse had actually wanted the bike off the road and she kind of threw my bike against the fence. And typical cyclist reaction was, "Hey, watch my bike." But it turns out I had a fractured elbow, you know, I'd hit my head, and I'd kind of right round here, around the piriformis area, and then my hip and my pelvis got a heavy landing. And so I couldn't move. And then the ambulance came and I was taken from there to the hospital. I contacted my friend. Well, he'd been a former client of Cycle Law, you know, and he said, "Look, this is great solicitors. If you're going anywhere, this is the place to go."
George was actually involved in two incidents that I dealt with, and the first was a hit and run that was quite highly publicised within the media at the time. We'd already read about it in the media before George contacted us. So you kind of can hit the ground running thinking, I already know where this happened, I know a little bit about what the injuries are. And so when I met with him, he went through in detail how badly the incident affected him. It was immediately apparent from him how passionate he is about cycling and how much he just wanted to get back to that. So it was again looking at that full picture, thinking, right, what can we do? He can't work. His wife's having to support him financially in respect of that. And his pride and joy is his bike. So getting that assessed, getting it repaired, and looking at him and what his injuries are and what rehabilitation that he needs in order to get back out on that bike.
Cycle Law is a light. If you're immobile, like I was, then that's a long, dark tunnel. Initially, you're just thinking, oh, I'll get better and I'll get up. And then the reality strikes. You're not getting up, you know? And then when you're there, then you're thinking the financial worry. You know, you're kind of off your work. And that's the other, that builds, that's a lot of financial stress. And that builds.
George is a very active individual and his job is relatively manual as well. So his main concern was making sure he could get back to work and financially support his family. He wasn't overly concerned about himself and his recovery as such. His main concern was, will I recover enough that I can then go back to work and provide for my family? And therefore there's a psychological element to that, and really almost coaching them through that, thinking, right, okay, there is light at the end of the tunnel, we just need to go through the stages, make sure you have the relevant experts in place to talk them through that, and really try and be as positive as you can be about what the outcome is going to be at the end of that. I
felt I had gained a friend. You know, if ever you felt a bit frail, I'd phone up Jodi. I never picked up a hint of, it's fine this time, but you know, I'm really busy. Never got that, never once. And I'm very, very grateful for that.
It's great meeting up with clients again after everything is settled and you're seeing them in a slightly more positive setting, but it's fantastic to see that they are out on their bikes, and George obviously enjoying cycling again, commuting here on his bike and loving being out in nature.
So Cycle Law, yeah, that was a great experience for me.